All right, before we go into our stories proper, let's bring you these stories again just for emphasis sake so you get more information on what is going on. As frantic efforts are still being made to rescue the abducted persons in Ekpe, the State House of Assembly in Lagos has called on the state government to implement the Neighborhood Safety Corps law.
The law, which was recently assented to by the governor, is to ensure that all public and primary schools within the state are well fenced to guarantee the safety of the schools. Our Lagos Assembly correspondent Abimbola Agbebi captured the day's proceedings.
The business of the day kicked off with the rehash of the kidnap that took place on the 6th of October in Ekpe, a riverine area of the state.
They came in and kidnapped the principal of the school, the one housemaster, 4 JSS students. On October 8th again, they also visited another community within my constituency, where a 70-year-old former bank manager was also kidnapped with 3 of his staff.
Ekpe is under siege, and I feel sincerely that these kidnappers, they are living in our midst. Mr. Speaker, I want to request that the state government should beef up the surveillance on our grids. The drone should be more focused in that area now, because they are coming through that axis. And most of those criminals that have been weighed off from Ikorodu, they are moving towards that end.
Other members of the House expressed worry that in spite of the efforts being made by the state government to improve the security situation in the metropolis, activities of kidnappers remain on the rise.
When we recover the victims, we feel we are over it, but only for them to strike again. So obviously something is emboldening them, and we need to nip that in the bud. This House of Assembly has passed the Neighborhood Safety Corps law into law and has been assented to by the governor, and I think we should give it life immediately.
It's actually getting out of the scope of the state by the present constitution. So the only thing we can do is what the state is doing to support, but we did not have control. For us to be able to have control over all these things, we should have the right to security matters, and we should be able to really have our vote be directed to it.
While the House sympathized with the affected community, the lawmakers acknowledged the Speaker's foresightedness in coming up with a private member bill that is expected to rid the state of the activities of kidnappers in the metropolis.
Today we are talking about the Neighborhood Watch Bill, which was introduced by you. Last week we were talking about kidnapping law, kidnapping bill, which was introduced by you. So for me, that was foresight, Mr. Speaker.
After all said and done, the House commended efforts of the security agencies in the state for their prompt response in the kidnap saga, but called on the state government to implement its neighborhood safety law, among other prayers. Abimbola Agbebi, TVC News, Lagos.
You know, the point is, when it comes to the kidnap of children, a lot of people get really involved in very emotional ways. Now, this has been a source of concern to so many people, and there has also been calls that all the edges where there are waterways, especially like Ekpe area, the Ikorodu and Badagry, there should be some level of extra effort in security in those areas.
It's really sad indeed. The Babington Macaulay won't go off my head anytime soon, where girls were abducted. Yeah. And now another begs the question, are children endangered within our community? Can't the government, can't the people now care for these children, protect them and preserve them? Really?
Well, we had the Commissioner of Police yesterday on the program, and he assured the people that everything is being done to ensure that the children are rescued, and even for the vice principal, and all the officials that were kidnapped
And
yesterday.
you wonder why some parents would rather take their children outside of the country to school where they're sure that their safety is guaranteed.
Well, that's another issue for another day, I must say, because one would say, is it justifiable to say, okay, because you want to kick against, or you want your children to be safe, so you send your children abroad. But if you have the money to do that, everybody has the right anyway.
Indeed.
All right. All right, let's get into our topic of the day. Let's start off with our first big story. It's the International Day of the Girl Child, and there are calls for action for increased investment in collecting and analyzing girl-focused, girl-relevant, and sex disaggregation.
Right, the producer wants to break your jaw.
No, but it's fine. It's fine.
All right, so in Nigeria, many girls and indeed women are faced with issues of discrimination. In most cases, the girl child is denied access to formal education, while women are denied key roles in politics and governance.
Now, no fewer than 10,000 primary school pupils in Kano State recently benefited from Governor Abdullahi Ganduje's School in Bag Summer Camp Academy program in the state. Now, according to Governor Ganduje, the program is established to address the challenges of gender imbalance and transition from primary to junior secondary school.
The Kano School in Bag program will support girl-child education in the state, thereby giving them extra lessons during holidays, particularly in English language.
But before we go into the issues of the girl child proper, let's tell you that the reintroduced Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill has passed second reading in the Senate and is now set for public hearing. The bill, which seeks to promote the rights of women in the society, was reintroduced for its first reading in June after a previous version was shut down. The leadership of the Senate described the passage of the bill as a clear indication that it is a gender-friendly institution.
To amend that part of the Constitution to accommodate us women. Look at this room. How many women are here? And some would attribute to the fact that I don't shake men that, oh, maybe is it religious or otherwise. And I tell them there are too many men in here, and I feel intimidated. That if I shake hands with 102 men in a day, that, you know, I think I'm going to shrivel away. It is high time we did the right thing. Look at what America is showing us today through the likes of Hillary Clinton.
And if we can put the affirmative action into the subsection 3 of 147, it will have given the government of the day a credit, because Nigeria is a signatory to either the convention, treaties.
I hold the view that all the forms of discrimination, the worst is gender discrimination.
Second reading taken. The Senate is a strong supporter of gender equality.
The subsection 3 of 147, it will have given the government of the day a credit, because Nigeria is a signatory to either the convention, treaties.
I hold the view that all the forms of discrimination, the worst is gender discrimination.
Second reading taken. The Senate is a strong supporter of gender equality, against discrimination, and also in support of ensuring that our women have the opportunity of equal rights.
All right, you got it from the Senate there. With us in the studio is a gender and development expert, Amy Oyekunle. It's good to have you join us. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. It's
Good
good to be here.
And from our Abuja studio is a child rights activist and the head of Polash Community Development Initiative, Charity Anaja. Charity, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here today.
Right, you're welcome. Let's start it with Amy in the studio. When it comes to gender discrimination, today we're commemorating this, but on the ground, how bad or how do these things play out? How bad it is? Give us a picture.
Well, like you said, today is International Day of the Girl Child. How bad is it? In many places, many people don't understand how bad it is. It's bad because at the higher level, you see that there's a limit of how many women are occupying political positions or how many women are in leadership positions. So, I mean, that's a big picture. But let's go down to the nitty-gritty. In schools, you have, let's take example of Kano State that you talked about. So there are many girls that go into primary school, but they don't make that transition from primary to secondary. Or they go into junior secondary school, they don't make that transition from junior secondary to senior secondary. And there are many reasons why they fall out. They have to go and get married. They have to be part of, take care of the family. They have so many responsibilities. Let's come down to Lagos State. 2 weeks ago, the Lagos State government, under the Ministry of Women Affairs, launched a strategy document, a framework for working with out-of-school adolescent girls. In Nigeria, the statistics might fail me right now, but they say we have about 5 million girls who are currently out of school in Nigeria alone. So, I mean, I mean, really and truly, just imagine that number. Lagos has one of, well, we could say because of our population, but Lagos has a high enough number of girls who are not in school. And they're not in school not because school is not free. School is free, so basic education is free. But there are many opportunity costs that comes with it. So they can't go to school because maybe they have to pay this and pay that, which they say is free, by the way. But when you go into school, of course, let's face it, this is Nigeria, there are many things that they have to do. So a parent will up and say, especially in this recession climate that we're in, and say, I can't afford it, you know, stay at home, help me sell in the market, let your brother go, after all, he's the boy, and so many things like that. So when we come down to basics, and which is why the UNICEF says, the theme of International Day of the Girl Child is, let us start to count, let us start to measure. There are many states in Nigeria today that are doing wonderful things with girls. Particularly, there's a focus on girls going into school. But like they say, what doesn't get counted, what doesn't get measured, doesn't get done. And it's not enough to say, oh, we're doing basic education, we're giving girls this, we're empowering girls. How are we counting it? How are we learning from the lessons, and how are we changing policies?
Okay, Charity, let's bring you in here. Of course, statistics now is here about 10.2 million children, out-of-school children in Nigeria. 60% of them are girls, are women. The question is, it is time to measure. How can we change this trend?
Thank you very much once again. I'd like to say that the statistics, just as mentioned earlier, is very true. And I want to say that the reasons, the basis of discrimination against the girl child is even from the point of conception. When a woman gets married and she's pregnant, the first thing that comes to mind is that I want to have a boy. So discrimination of the girl even starts from the womb. And when you talk about education, the girl child is not given easy access to quality education. She tends to sacrifice her own education for her male counterparts. She tends to not go beyond primary school level just because she needs to get married and add to the income of the family. All sorts of discrimination, violence, exploitation, trafficking, and things that deter her development and making her unable to contribute positively to society are tied to the fact that she is not given access to education. And what we are advocating for as child rights advocates today is that what are we doing? What measures are we putting in place as civil society, as a legal system, and as government as a whole to ensure that every child, even in the rural areas, are able to go to school, not just to go to school, but able to have school actualizing their dreams in life, making them make positive impact in the society. You will agree with me that when a girl is educated, she complements her male counterpart from the home to the system, to decision-making levels, and even to government. And so it is important that we have all our girls enrolled in school. Now we look at the northern part of Nigeria. With the current insurgency attacks, education has been taken back about 20 years because even the girl herself is scared of going to school for fear of abduction or kidnapping. You find out that women and girls are the brunt of violence and attacks. Girls are abused. When you talk of sexual abuse, women are at the top of the ladder. They are abused sexually, And they share this culture of silence. They cannot report the cases. And so we need to actually do a form of value orientation or reorientation to ensure that women begin to place value on themselves, raise our self-esteem. Today, in the next 20 years, these girls become the women that will speak for other women. So what are we putting in place to ensure that they build their capacity in that level? So we are saying that let's begin to add value to our girls by giving them a good education, giving them access to healthcare, giving them a good legal representation, having leaders, women that can talk for the rights of children. The Child Rights Act that is in place today has it that girls should be able to, access those things that make them add value to society. And I think that we should begin to work hard towards that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Charity. We'll still come back to you on this. Now, the United Nations in 2011 declared October the 11th the International Day of the Girl Child to stop discrimination and violence against girls and violations of their rights.
And this year's theme is Girls' Progress equals to Girls' Progress, and it is geared towards giving people and organizations the platform to raise public awareness of the diverse types of discrimination and abuse that many girls around the world go through.
Now, one of the critical issues faced by the girl child in Nigeria, for instance, include child marriage. And research has shown that 3 in 15 girls in third world countries, except China, get married before they're 18 years.
All right, so Amy, in Egypt, the age limit is 18. In Malaysia, it is 19. In Morocco, it is 17. What do you advise?
A good question. Like she said about the Child Rights Act, according to what we have here in law, it's 18. A child is a child till she's 18. And it just begs to differ that we follow that principle. The Child Rights Act has been passed in about 24 states, 24 years as the last count. And what it stipulates is 18 years old, because at that time, we consider that she's matured physically to be able to bear children. Statistics shows that immediately a woman or a girl gets married, within a year, she's pregnant, she has children. So she's physically matured to be able to take care of that, her body, but she's also mentally prepared, because at that point in time, it's considered that she would have had 6 formal years of education, basic and also secondary, to be able to equip her. We also feel that by 18, she'll be able to at least emotionally manage the traumas of marriage.
But that is not what is obtainable in some
right
parts
now,
of the world,
no,
in some part of the country.
In Lagos, believe it or not, even in Lagos. You see, that's why I say we just take it for granted. Oh, we have laws, so okay, the laws are working. It doesn't. In certain places, and I won't mention which local government or which area, I mean, we have people, I had a security guard who, his daughter was 13 and he wanted to give her out to marry. To be honest, he came to ask me for money and he says, I want to marry. And I assumed that she was 18. She got married and then she had issues with the marriage. She left. He came again, oh, I want to marry her to another person. And I said, come, which girl do you want to get married?
The same girl.
It's the same girl. And I said, is it that girl that I saw that has no chest or has no nothing? I was furious. And I wanted to report it. And I told her, if you try that, I will report you. I will report you. But Lagos has those laws. And we have structure and policies that help us. And the most important thing is not just having it, but knowing it and knowing how to use it. In certain states that they are yet to pass it, they don't have that. And so many girls, like she said, don't have a voice, don't have an option, don't have the opportunity to know, where do I go to? I don't want to get married. I want to go to school. I want to finish my education. I want to work. I want to learn a trade. Girls have dreams and they have ambitions. One of the things that the International Day of the Girl Child pushes is listen to girls. Don't assume that you know it. Don't assume that you know what is best for them. You must bring girls to the table, to have their voices at the table, to let them tell you what they want. Same thing with boys. So it's not just when we talk about gender, we don't always talk about girls only, but boys also. And you have better policies and better structures and a better system that works for everyone.
Okay, we'll come back to this. Now, let's take a look at some of the rights of a child as enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution. Now, in Nigeria, every child has the right to life, the right to dignity of the human person, the right to personal liberty, the right to fair hearing, the right to privacy and family life, the right to freedom of thought, conscience and religion, and lots more.
And most of these rights are not upheld and practiced to the level of fairness, most especially for the girl child. In some quarters in Nigeria, it is believed that the girl child should perform more domestic chores. The gender proportion between the number of girls to boys in schools in northern Nigeria is 1 girl to 4 boys, in 1 to 3 in some other states.
Now, according to the Executive Director, Women Advocates Research and Documentation Center, Dr. Abiola Akiyode Afolabi, the Nigerian government has not done enough in addressing issues concerning the girl child and needs to get more girls in schools. Now, she says, and I quote, Nigeria still contributes to the highest number of out-of-school children, looking at the dynamics of out-of-school children statistics, end of quote.
Okay, there is also the issue of safety and security in schools. Girls tend to suffer violence from ages 15 and 24. About 1 out of every 3 girls have suffered violence one way or the other, either through sexual harassment, rape, or incest.
All right. Those are some of the basic information there. But right now we're going out on TVC Entertainment. But viewers there can continue with the program and join us on this topic on Concert Channel 190 and DSTV Channel 418.
ACTV 510, Go TV, it is 45. Let's continue the conversation there.
All right, if you're just joining us, you're watching TVC Breakfast, and on this segment, we are commemorating International Day of the Girl Child. It's today, and certainly we expect all activities across the world today to be pointed towards the fact of enlightening parents, enlightening girls, enlightening everyone about the fact that the girl child is important and she has equal rights as any other person. So we have in the studio Amy Oyekule. She is a development, agenda and development expert. And from our Abuja studio, we have Charity Naja. She is the head of Polash Community Development Initiative. Now, Charity, let me come to you on this. Now, earlier you talked about, you said that discrimination even starts from the womb. But let me put it this way. Mothers who are women and who are supposed to be in the picture, who are supposed to have the better understanding of what it takes or what it means when there's discrimination against women, if they are the ones preferring boys or having baby boys to baby girls, how do we reconcile that?
Thank you very much. That's a culture that has given us this mindset that we are second-class citizens. And before we can gain acceptance in the society, in marriage, we prefer to have male children. We prefer to have the boys take dominance over the girls, especially in the rural areas, where the girls are the ones doing the domestic jobs, where the girls have to jettison their education so that their brothers can go to school, when the girls have to marry early and give up their dreams in life, where the girls get to a point, even in schools, they choose courses that make them stay at home more, even when they do not desire those courses. In the past, we had cases where the only things that girls did in the career world were to be teachers or nurses because it availed them more time to stay with their families. Yeah. We are not saying that it is wrong for girls to be teachers or nurses, but even in the society, I feel that a girl should be given the opportunity, just as it is part of her human rights, just as it is enshrined in the conventions of the child, just as it is enshrined in the Child Rights Act, to attain her full potentials in life. If a girl wants to become an engineer, she should be free to. If a girl wants to play football, she should be free to. There shouldn't be some kind of mindset that puts you at a point where you do not go beyond some kind of things. And that brings me to say that even in society, we have things like gender rules, that even without any big explanation. They cannot do some things because they feel that they are girls. You find out that we do not have female drivers, whereas there are so many ladies that want to drive commercially. And so we need to begin to change this mindset. We need to begin to work on the psyche of women ourselves. Transformation begins from a renewal of the mind. And that is why stakeholders like the civil society and others should start bringing sensitization even to the girls, to begin to add value to themselves. We are not created merely to become wives and mothers. We are created to add positively to society. We are created to make impact in society, from the home front even to the level of government. And so discrimination in the home, we need to really, really talk to parents. And this brings me to begin to address where society places the girl child: through the media, through our religious organizations, through our culture. Where do we place our girls? We find out that these cultures go a long way on even working on our psyche. We need to begin to address these things so that a girl in herself will begin to run after her dreams without thinking that what's going to be the impact on this in my marriage? What's going to be the impact on this in the society where I come from? We need to become more visible. You find out that a lot of women do not engage in politics, and even when we try to engage, we are not giving political or appointive roles because they feel that women shouldn't be heard. That should no longer be the case. We should become part of our society in the decision making, in the home front, in our career, in health and everything. And that is why women should be given access to education, access to information, access to healthcare, access to representation, whatever it is that develops a child, whatever it is that develops a nation. I don't think that a woman should be left out of the scene. Thank you.
All right, Charity, we'll come back to you. Well put, really, if you ask me, as a woman, really. Yes. But as she was talking, I thought about it. Sometimes when your parents prod you in a particular direction, it's not because they hate you. Perhaps they don't know any better. Perhaps that's the level of exposure, or they are looking for your good to say, okay, maybe after secondary school to take a secretariat study so you can take care of your children. Yes. That is, your mother wouldn't wish you ill. Yes. So is it a high time for us to make some of these campaigns less elitist? Take it to the grassroots. In a day like this, what you will see is on the television and the pages of the newspapers. My mother is in the village. I don't know if she knows what today is all about. Really, true. She might not know what. Okay, so I think do you think it's high time to de-list, as it is, some of these campaigns and take them to the grassroots? It's more of behavioral action so that these women can really understand what we're talking about.
You know what? I think it is working on the ecosystem as a whole. So it's not enough to say we have policies, like I said earlier. It's not enough to say this is elitist. Because in truth, let's face it, the role models, one of the reasons why girls don't aspire for certain roles and positions, two things. One, they don't have safety. They don't feel that they are safe in that kind of position. Two, they don't feel that they would get the support they need. So let's take politics, for example. There was a few, in my previous life, I used to be an executive director of the Kudurat Initiative for Democracy. And one of the things that we did is we tried to push women, local women, to aspire to political positions, women in towns, in cities to aspire. And we always got to a certain ceiling with the women, that it never went beyond that. So we gave them, what is it that you need? Capacity building, training, advocacy, voice. We went to the powers that be. We went to the structures, the stakeholders, the gatekeepers of political parties. Give women a chance. We went to law, 30% or 35% representation. After a while, you know what? I got tired. I got tired because the women got tired. They got tired because they themselves, there's a meeting by 12 midnight. There's a meeting by 1 a.m. I can't go. I have to watch my children. What will my husband say? So the structures are not there. Let us face it. So as much as we are trying to push for certain things, we need to start pushing for those structures to change. Those structures should modify. I had a woman that said, it's a quote that says, if you don't like the way it is, change it. If you cannot change it, keep quiet. And that's what I tell many women and girls, change it. Now, regarding going to the grassroots and And many women in the grassroots, it's all about survival. I want my child to do a job that will bring money home. What job is that? If she's doing a driver, tomorrow when she dies or they rape her, you know, who will I tell? So it's all about survival for many women and for many people. And that is why they encourage you. And one thing about a woman is your crown is your marriage, is your home, is your children, is anything that makes you, anything else doesn't make you a woman. And like she said, we need to change that. It doesn't make me any less of a woman that I am an engineer, or I'm an architect, or I'm a political person, or I'm a leader.
You know that now because you've been exposed
to
that. Most women in the rural areas are not exposed to this information.
No, ironically, most women, you'll be surprised, most women want their children, be it boys or girls, to go in there and be a better person. Go down and ask rural women, even market women. They'll tell you, yes, I want my daughter to be a lodger, because I know that when she's a lodger and she has education, she will change it for me. Not only for me, but for other women. So they know that. And if you ask them, that's the point, we all assume. And many of us, so-called elitist women, we assume also, but I've learned not to assume. I've traveled quite across, in a bit of places in Nigeria, and I've learned not to assume that you go to a rural, the women want their children. Yes, political counselor. Yes, I want her to be counselor, because if she's a counselor, she will change it. If she's a counselor, she will do better for
So
me.
if they know better, then why do you still have the highest number of out-of-school children in Nigeria, 60% of them girls?
Remember what I told you about, it's called unconditional need. So you send a girl to school, like I said, it is free. But when she goes to school, she has to buy school bag. She has to get school uniform. She has to go to school. In some cases, the school that she has to go to is it's far from her home. She has to get on a bus. She has to do this. Imagine a really, really poor woman, a trader, who she's selling akara at the roadside, although some women selling akara at the roadside have sent their children to school abroad. That's not the point. But imagine that she doesn't have it. Stay at home and help me in the market. I can't be having all this money to do this. You go to university. I went to university in Nigeria. Did you? Handout. You pay 1,000. You do this. Some of this opportunity cost, that's what it's called. It's too expensive for many of these people to afford. And so they choose the easy way out. And the easy way out, my dear, is come and sell with me in the market. I go to Mende market to buy. And I see many children. I ask the mother, why is she not in school? No school fees. I said, but school is free. Well, she's going to go, so I just want her to help me sell. And that is what we need to do. We need to be there and say, no, let her go to school. She will be better, because once she comes, she can help you do your books. She can help you do this and do that. And many women have attested to the fact that my daughter, she's the one helping me. She has now helped me to arrange my books. She has now told me that, Mommy, you can do this. You can sell your tomato online. You can do this and do that. And they are seeing the benefit. It's changing. It's changing, albeit a little bit slowly. But like she said, we need to do more work and more effort.
Okay, let's bring in Charity in here. I like to take it from the African perspective, because a lot of people see the concept of equality, gender thing as Western. We are Africans, for instance. But the point there is, let's come to the reality of things. When you consider culture of Africans, that is who we are, that is how peculiar we are. What role is culture playing when it comes to equality of anybody for that matter, or the gender thing? How is culture compounding or maybe helping, depending on however way you see it?
That's a very, very serious question. The problem culture gives us is that culture places the man at the position of dominance and places the woman at a very disadvantaged position. A woman is seen as a vulnerable person. A woman is seen as a second-class citizen. A woman cannot express herself. A woman, even in our religious settings, which I would, for the sake of this discussion, merge with our culture, a woman cannot even speak. She cannot even say anything. In the home, your desire is towards your husband alone. Your husband says, sit down, you sit. Any attempt to try to express yourself is seen as a form of stubbornness, or you are trying to revolt against the authority of your husband, the authority of the society. And this is so detrimental to the growth and to the progress and development of society. where you have a society where a woman who is supposed to be doing so much cannot do even a little. What do you have? In even some societies, a woman cannot even speak to her male children. It is that bad.
Yeah.
And so I would like to say that for us to achieve what we need, the SDG goals, the goals that we have for our girls, and to have in the future girls speaking and girls adding to quality growth in society, we need to start addressing our culture. We are not saying that our culture should erode, but our culture should begin to accommodate those practices that are not detrimental to the girls or the women.
Yeah.
You find out that in some cultures, a woman cannot even inherit. You cannot inherit land when your father dies. In some cultures, a woman that is widowed is facing a lot of havoc because they feel that your husband is dead and your crown is gone. And because you want to maintain your society and your good name, you are subjected to such inhuman practices. So we need to address our culture. I want to actually commend the Nigerian society because not some of these cultures have actually been addressed. Yes. The men are beginning to get more accommodating, but we need to do more in sensitizing our men, because before you talk of advancing the cause of the girl child, the men too should be addressed to know that women are not in competition with the men. Yeah. Whatever role a woman plays in the society is a complementary one. That's from right. The hope front, even to the decision-making level. You find out that when there's abuse of the girl child, they cannot even report because of stigmatization. The man goes away, even if he's arrested, he's released and he moves around. But a woman starts having to go through issues of, will I get married? How will the society see me? Even when her own rights have been violated. And so we need to begin to address. I said earlier that transformation starts with the renewal of the mind. Let us begin to renew our minds through sensitizing us, through the media, through faith-based organizations, through government, through the legal arm. What are we saying to our men? What are we saying to our women? What are we saying in the grassroots? My counterpart also earlier said that we need to take our campaigns to the grassroots. We cannot sit in Lagos or Abuja and start, putting together data of girl child abuse or issues that are detrimental to the girl child. But when you go to the rural communities, you find out that these children are going through a lot. Yes. They do not have rights to access to health, access to anything that makes them to thrive and become assets in the society. Yes. And so we need to start talking to our culture. We are not saying that our cultures are bad, but I feel that we can bring in these issues and it can work in synergy with our culture and our girls will move forward. Thank you.
All right. Amy, your reaction to this, but first of all, the gender equality bill before the Senate now, the first time it was introduced.
To health, access to anything that makes them to thrive and become assets in the society. Yes. And so we need to start talking to our culture. We are not saying that our cultures are bad, but I feel that we can bring in these issues and it can work in synergy with our culture and our girls will move forward. Thank you.
All right. Amy, your reaction to this, but first of all, the gender equality bill before the Senate now, the first time it was introduced, one couple of reasons came up, and one of them was the issue of a religion. It's not our culture. It's what are you trying to say? It's not our culture for a man, for a woman to be at par with the male, and perhaps and that's that of that okay, the Constitution already protected the women. There's no need for that. So changing, if you follow what Charity has said earlier now, sensitization, engaging the stakeholders. I'm thinking you want to involve the lawmakers. Where should reorientation begin?
Most definitely. One, first and foremost, culture is not static. It never has been. And I don't know why people have this presumption that this is our culture. We must stick to it. It doesn't change. I'm married to a twin. And I remember that, well, I don't remember in history. Yes, a few years ago, I mean, he could, and I keep on saying, thank you, God, or they would have killed this man for me. It was the culture at that time, but it changed. And in truth, culture should be according to what we find most abhorrent should be done away with. And what we think is beneficial should be kept. Now, go to this issue of the gender equality bill. That bill has been how many years in the making? You'll be surprised. There are many people who way before me in the movement of women's issues and girls' issues and child issues, they've been pushing this gender equality bill. The first time it was kicked out for several reasons. The bill that is currently there is reworked. I call it a carcass of a bill.
Reject.
I mean, I call it, because it in truth, some of the cocoa of the matter has been taken away.
Yes.
Now, one of the things when I have a discussion or conversation with anyone is, look, I'm not trying to be equal with any man. God created me special. He created me with my own potential, the same way he created you and the same way he created you. Now, trying to dominate over one person, in my opinion, is quite silly, because what I have, you don't have. And like she said, we complement each other. We are two halves of a whole. If you are at a table, like we saw in the clip of Senator Tinubu, where you are in a room where you are only how many men and few women, how does that conversation go? The woman cannot talk. She's quiet. A few years ago, a mentor of mine told me how she went to a state. She was presenting in the house. She was talking about some business, something. And she wanted to ease herself. Now, there's no female member in that house. When she wanted to ease herself, she was asking for the toilet. And they were like aghast because they didn't have a female toilet. So they had to tell her to use the male toilet and put some people to stand so that no male goes in there. When we talk about gender equality, we are talking about access to opportunities, equal access to opportunities. What makes you think that because I am a girl or I'm a woman, I am less worthy to have access to opportunities? And that is the challenge of gender equality. It's not about oh, she wants to come and women want to come and take over from us. And I think, like she said, once we begin to understand that where we are now is as a result of the things that we have done. Where Nigeria is today is as a result of some of the policies and some of the things that we have done. Let us use our best asset. There's a quote that says women and girls are a natural resource or asset. Use them. And so it is important that we, men, boys, girls, and women themselves understand that, and together we will do better. The bill is currently, and is as a second reading. We hope it gets passed because it gives us a platform. But let me explain that gender equality bill is for both men and women.
Okay.
Simple.
I wish we had time. I wish we had enough time to dwell on this
so
because
too.
there are so many issues concerning or emanating from the girl child. Remember the days of Margaret Ekpo, Funmilayo Ransome Kuti, Professor Lily Williams,
yes,
and even President Johnson Sirleaf in Liberia and all of that. These are people who took it upon themselves. And we asked the question from the girl perspective inside, is she ready to face that opportunity and take it up by herself instead of waiting to be given? We have questions like that. But Amy, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We thank Charity and Naja for joining us from our Abuja studio. Thank you very much, Charity.
Thank you.
All right.